So that's what's left to us. And Drake, we just talked, and those of you that were here, thanks for being here. You just saw us talk with Daniel Weiser, and he didn't want us to, we weren't going to give out the secret that he wanted to play Pioneer, right? Well, Theo Jung clearly wasn't listening, and they're playing Pioneer.
They sure are. Yeah, Weiser Advanced Standard expectedly got kind of beat up in the Esper versus Rakdos midrange we saw earlier, so he's good on that. Theo bans Modern, which would have been Rhinos versus 4-color. The match we are going to see, Pioneer, going to be Phoenix versus, of course, the Azorius control deck from Daniel Weiser. And this is actually a replay of the matchup from the RC that Daniel won. So I'm not sure how comfortable he is in the matchup. I think it goes back and forth. I think people overstate how bad the blue-eye control matchup is for Phoenix. But, I mean, certainly, Daniel Weiser has experience winning in high-stakes moments in this matchup. So hard not to like his odds as these players are shuffling up, getting ready, looking over each other's deck lists. I believe Weiser is going to be on the play too. Both players, they had to actually have a random play draw. Normally it's by seeding. Both players are at the same seed from each pod. So randomly gets to be on the play in the format he wants. We're going to see his tournament's on the line for both of these players. You win, you're in. You lose, you're out. As clean as it gets.
Yeah, Daniel Weiser. I mean, huge reputation, huge ELO rating, huge respect in our peer rankings, and certainly a significant portion of that came from playing this matchup last month in Atlanta. But Theo Jung thinks he can change up the outcome, so we'll see. We are underway.
Oh, I love this matchup so much, Joe. I played a lot of the Phoenix Blue White matchup. When I played Pioneer with Expressive Iteration, I felt that Phoenix was actually favored, depending on how your deck was, positioned. Since then, a fair bit has changed, but what matters here is there's no copies of Farewell anywhere in the deck, and that is a card you cannot beat. So, Theo has to be pretty excited about that, and we will see exactly how things play out now that Express Iteration is no longer legal in the format. Like I said, hard to hate Daniel Weiser's position. This is something that a matchup he's played before in a high stakes moment with, the format he wanted to play and on the play. So, can you get it any better than that? Not clear to me. Theo choosing to hold up mana instead of deploying Ledger Shredder last turn, chooses to deploy it this turn.
All right. Makes some sense. Trying to, if it's going to die, you may as well get a trigger along with it. And Daniel is going to cast Omen of the Sea. And okay, so Ledger Shredder is going to make it in. That's a start. Theo will get some advantage. That's a start.
Well, that's a nod to the main deck Spell Pierce as well, for its worth. One copy for Theo Jung, and going to be effective in this matchup if he draws it. Able to, I don't know why, is that Owen in the graveyard? We did the thing, right? Anyways, whatever. Being able to cast it and then not get Spell Pierce prior, to the Ledger Shredder's second spell. A little bit of heads-up play there as we move to Daniel Weiser's turn. Fiery Impulse discarded off of the Connive. That's going to put a counter on Ledger Shredder. Of course, no damage-based removal, so not likely to matter as far as toughness considerations growing outside the size of something. But
no, we're just looking at damage considerations, right? We're just trying to push.
The Omen has been resurrected from the graveyard and is back in play. That one, of course, should have been in play. Did not crack it quite yet. A little bit, maybe a sign of some fatigue. It's been a long day for Daniel Weiser. A lot of long games and whatever, still firing all cylinders, playing the deck he wants to play. Ledger Shredder is going to get taken down by March of Otherworldly Light. Back to Theo we go. All tapped out is Daniel Weiser. Everything's going to work, and we're going to start with another Ledger Shredder. Follow-up is another Opt. We've seen this before.
Yeah, we have. We've seen a lot of, there's going to be a lot of repetitive actions here. There's going to be a lot of plays that two of them are familiar with, a lot of interactions just building towards the later game. I guess really Theo's trying to get to the mid game and get paid off big time with his Delve cards and with Arclight Phoenixes, and Daniel's trying to survive the onslaught. The sideboard games, he'll have more answers for the graveyard, but in game one, he kind of just has to slog through it, like you're saying, without farewells.
Yeah, a lot to slog through, although Let's see. We only got one copy of Galvanic Iteration, one copy of Temporal Trespass for Theo. A lot of Treasure Cruises to work with otherwise.
Okay.
Sometimes the way that this matchup can play out, especially in the first game before Rest in Pieces and things like that get in the mix, is Theo just kind of builds to Galvanic Iteration, Temporal Trespass. And, you know, if you can get 2 turns, great. If one of them gets countered, that's fine. You still get to untap and shields are down.
Yeah.
So you get to kind of overwhelm the counter magic with that particular combination. And they're really easy to find with the Picklock Pranksters, previously Pieces of the Puzzle. A little bit of discussion on what you're supposed to have. No Pieces of the Puzzle, I believe, present for Theo Jung. All Picklock Pranksters, which, of course, we are freeing the Fae right here, if I had to guess. So counterspell on this would counter the creature, and you can use a Dovin's Veto to do that if Weiser wants to. Also, just a free spell to trigger Ledger Shredder again. You know, you kind of get to do 2 things. And I think that's part of the I think that's part of the reason to use Dovin's Veto here. It's like Dovin's Veto pretty premium in the matchup overall, but here being able to just deny the Ledger Shredder trigger is great. Yeah, here we have to commit another spell in order to actually get the Connive trigger, which we're going to go ahead and do with another opt. And yeah, I mean, a fine trade for Daniel, I'd say so far. 3 mana left over for anything scary and not under really any pressure.
Right. I think that's the big thing. It's just there's nothing as the Ledger Shredder gets thrown away. Daniel's life total staying high, staying at 20. Theo not sandbagging Arclights. He actually hasn't seen one yet.
Yeah, a tough spot to be. One of the cards you would really like to discard to the Ledger Shredder. Gonna play Lava Glide Pathway. And looks like Temporal Trespass present in the hand. No Galvanic Iteration quite yet, as here comes an attack. And don't have to worry about Wandering Emperor. Sometimes you'll see some really weird plays with your haste creatures not attacking because you don't want to just tap out for your Phoenix straight into getting exiled with Wandering Emperor. So you can play weird sometimes. No Wandering Emperor available for Daniel right now, having only 3 mana up. So this attack looking pretty safe. And back to Daniel we go.
Gave a little bit of thought there to sacrificing the Omen in the Sea and decided against it. Does have
speaks to the intent to maybe grab Yorion at some point soon?
Yeah. No, yeah, certainly at some point, and wanting to have access to that little boost of free card advantage there.
Yeah, that makes some sense to me. Theo, a lot of resources to work with.
Yeah, so if he's got I mean, cantrips in the hand here, you just keep burning. I mean, you kind of have to burn through the deck until you find. Yeah, there's Cruise in hand, I guess.
Yeah, so, I think you want to just lead on Treasure Cruise. Like you have Temporal Trespass already available, and that's you only have 1 Temporal Trespass. You have a pile of card advantage. So Treasure Cruise kind of the card that you're okay getting countered. It sucks nuke your graveyard. Yeah, we don't even see Daniel Weiser reach for counter spells. I think that's actually just fine. There's a lot of dead cards in the Phoenix deck in the first game. Like these Fiery Impulses are not going to look good. So you need to find a way to get those in the graveyard with Ledger Shredder, which involves, you know, committing your mana and tapping mana and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what Daniel wants to see.
And there's not really any big reason for Theo to ever have, like, I mean, normally you think you have a blue deck. Oh, I want to lose some mana on tap to my opponent's turn. Daniel knows Theo doesn't have anything going on. There's you 1 Spell Pierce, and that's it. So, I mean, I guess there's
Galvanic Iteration, the Spell Pierce. That's
sure.
It's not good, but yeah, there's not a lot. You're talking about like a Brazen Borrower and Spell Pierce as far as tricks go. A lot of the rest of it's red removal spells that do not have a lot of text. Even back when I thought the blue-white control matchup was a little favored for the Phoenix deck back during Expressive Iteration time, the main deck game was not good. There was like something like 9 cuts or whatever, just all your red removal spells, get them out.
See there, Theo actually put 2 spells on the stack at the same time. He freed the Fade and responded to that with Consider, so we could then have the Ledger Shredder trigger before the Consider resolved. Nicely done. And now does find Darklight Phoenix finally.
Yeah, found 1. And I think that's 3 spells, right? We have Free the Fae, Treasure Cruise, and Consider. That's all happened this turn. We still have a land to make. Stormcarved Coast is going to be the play. So we already have enough to bring the bird back. We already have 2 threats. And put a bunch of the lands in the graveyard. A lot of spells in hand for Theo. Yeah, go ahead. Good combat. Here's a bird. Going to attack with both. And that's going to get sharked.
Yeah.
This here is a cycle for Shark Typhoon. That's going to make a 4/4 shark. Get a look at Arclight Phoenix. Beginning combat on your turn. You cast 3 more instant or sorcery spells this turn. Return Arclight Phoenix from your graveyard to the battlefield. A card I love dearly. Did a lot of playing the modern version of this deck. Now available for Pioneer.
All right. So Petty Theft will get rid of the Shark token. If 5 damage comes across, which is, you know, a chunk of Daniel's life total, but we're probably pretty far away from him being concerned about things.
True, but I mean, we are once again looking through a lot of Theo's deck. Theo already has the Temporal Trespass in hand. He finds now he has like a board presence such that if he does find the Galvanic Iteration at almost any point, he's good.
Yeah,
and eventually, if you get to 8 mana, then you get to play Galvanic, Flashback Galvanic. You know that trick that used to be a feature of the standard formats.
And already, even though the cruise happened last turn, Theo's graveyard already rebuilt entirely. So no shortage of Delve cards. Here's a Verdict. That's something. I mean, Legislature gets wiped out, so Conniving gets slowed down, but Arclight just waits to come back again. Daniel does
not a bad trade for Theo. Right. Basically a 1-for-1.
Daniel does have one main deck copy of Hallowed Moonlight. That would be a great pickup. However, in a Yorion deck, you can't depend on that showing up anytime soon. And honestly, it may not even be worth using for just one Arclight.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what, I don't even think you want to draw it until way later. I think you want to wait till all 4 come back because that does just come up. Like, obviously, some of them get exiled with marches and, you know, Wandering Emperors, things of that nature. But usually a part of the equation for grinding through the blue-white control deck is step 1, draw less lands than they do, which your cantrips and Legistrators do. Step 2, actually get card advantage through your Phoenixes being recurred. And things like Get Lost, you know, you really want to see those on Phoenixes be required, which means putting a lot of pressure on Daniel's life total early on. So Hallowed Moonlight could be a key player, you know, whatever, turn 17, assuming the game gets that far. We are just going to fire up Triple Trespass now. Not interested in waiting for any Galvanic Iteration is Theo, which not too bad when Dan Weiser's already committed the tapped a bunch of mana on his turn.
Yeah.
So now,
and then with Hall of Storm Giants getting ready to get fired up, that may actually be the route through here.
It would be lethal if there's nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, and on the last cantrip, there is a veto. On the last cantrip, Theo actually kept Spikefield Hazard instead of getting rid of it. So wanting to get through here a point and then maybe
this third spell for your Phoenix.
Yeah, get the worst for the Phoenix. Even though it's maybe a kind of a lame one there, it does work. And then here is Picklock Prankster into play for the first time.
You know, this matchup very much, I mean, this is kind of emblematic of what's going on with the Phoenix Blue Eye Control matchup. You just move a bunch of cards around and then try to beat them up with garbage. And garbage it is. 1-3.
Yeah. And 3-2 that Brazen Bar, we're waiting in the Adventure Zone as a potential way to recover too. It's going to matter. Daniel down to 9 life. Played 1 Verdict already out of 3, not 4. So maybe now some concern. We haven't seen target removal yet. No Wandering Emperors, no Marches.
Yeah, I mean, March, definitely a big part of the equation. And yeah, here is going to be Yorion play Flicker. So we're going to go ahead and buy that. 5 mana to cast it. Going to Flicker the Omen of the Sea. Enough life to work with that, you know, not concerned about any kind of removal spell that can actually kill Yorion maybe, and then firing up Hall quite yet. Would need another land for that. But, I mean, not impossible, I guess. Like land Lightning Axe plus Fire Up Hall could work. See another bird picked up. Maybe it's time to, you might have to just attack with your Phoenix's Fiery Impulse. I mean, this could be kind of tough. But with Daniel at 9, I mean, this is part of the desperation plays you really want to start forcing, is just put enough pressure on the life total that you force Daniel to have to use removal spells on Phoenixes in inopportune ways. And I think Theo's done a good job of that so far. Might just be Fire Up Hall right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was thinking that too. And maybe just send it in and no, okay, it's going to be the Impulse plan. Impulse,
Hardcast Phoenix, attack for 7.
All right.
2, a lot of lethal threats, require a Verdict, and then even Verdict may not be good enough. Don't hate this either as we go back to Daniel.
No, Theo might be in position to grab game 1 here. From the draw position as well.
Emperor gains some life. So like that card could be a huge player here. Exile one of the Phoenixes, gain some life, so you're not just dead to 1 bird, but then you still need something else. Another removal spell or whatever. This Picklock Prankster. Memory Deluge.
That's
not a good sign.
No, it is not. This looks pretty dangerous here.
Daniel Weiser getting a look. Chooses 2 cards fairly quickly. And now, I mean, it's like Verdict or bust. I mean, March can get
no Verdict is nothing now because I guess because a Verdict here, the Hall of Storm Giants would kill him.
Right. Yes, I think that's what we're gonna do that no matter what. Fire up the Hall, attack with everything. No Settle the Wreckage present in the deck
Nope.
list. And so that's going to be it for game number 1. Daniel Weiser down a game on the play in the format he wanted to play. Theo Jung did a great job cleaning that up and putting a lot of pressure on Daniel Weiser through game number 1. I would expect some pretty dramatic changes for both players as we move to the sideboard.
Yeah, we'll look at the deck list. We'll look at the sideboards. That was interesting the way that played out, though. Committing the Temporal Trespass, which may be one of the threats that Daniel would worry about not wanting to tap out in front of. So once it's happened, he knows it can't happen again. Then taps out and then ends up, losing his position and losing the game. Anyway, sideboarding here.
Part of that equation for sure. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. All right. So toys in the sideboard here for Daniel Weiser. I mean, we just want to focus in on. Well, we don't focus in. It's hard to not focus in on the 3 Rest in Peace, which are great at blanking significant portions of Theo's deck. In addition to that, Mystical Disputes, more Hallowed Moonlight, more counters.
Elspeth Smite is an exile removal spell. That one can take care of a bird in a pretty clean way. I think you're in the market for that as well. I haven't seen that much of. Good.
There's Dream Trawlers. There's Chrome Host Sea Sharks. Is there anything here that Daniel doesn't want? Destroy Evil is kind of a loser, right?
Yeah, Destroy Evil isn't great. I don't know how much you actually want to try Dream Trawlers because the best card from the Phoenix side is their own Mystical Dispute. So getting that Mystical Dispute is kind of disastrous. And like you also get to leave your verdicts in and stuff like that for a bunch of the scrappy picklock pranksters and stuff like that. So, maybe you don't want some of the creature stuff, the Chrome Hosts and the Dream Trawlers, but you do want a lot. Like I said, I would expect some pretty dramatic changes as far as you want like all the disputes, all the Rest in Pieces and stuff like that. And some of your clunkier cards can maybe start to get out of your deck.
All right. And Theo's side, we're going to see the entrance of the counter magic, which was absent in game 1 for the most part.
Yeah, 2 Mystical Disputes, 2 Negates, pretty well prepared. You can even bring in like a hearse if you're in the market for that. Young Pyromancers to prepare. Like Young Pyromancers and Crackling Drake's kind of your plan for Rest in Peace. You always have to have a plan when you're playing your Phoenix deck for cards that do not care about graveyard hate. And Fables, Crackling Drakes, and Young Pyromancers are that repertoire. Now the question is, how much, if any, all, what do you want? Not clear to me. A lot of it is my guess.
Yeah. So I mean, some of the removal is going to come out. Beyond that, you probably hedge and take out some Delve cards, right?
Right. Yeah, I usually cut to like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So I would expect basically like 4 Lightning Axe, 4 Fiery Impulse, and then 4 of the 5. I usually left 1 Trespass, cut all crews, but who knows? That was with Express. I don't know what we do now. But yeah, I would trim a bunch of the Delve stuff because Rest in Peace is coming in mass. And then you get to bring in just the pile. You get to bring in whatever, another Brazen Borrower. You can bring in Crackling Drake's Fables, Mystical Disputes, Negates, like the whole works. And so, I mean, like I said, you're going to see some major overhauls from, I think, both of these decks going.
Yeah. A Picklock Prankster, less appealing as well. I mean, basically Daniel will pick up Graveyard Hate and some counter magic, and Theo will pick up some counter magic also, but then just alternatives to using his graveyard and see who is able to prevail here. But Theo being up a game, looking strong, and pile shuffling.
Yeah, sure. Got to count it. I mean, when you make that many changes, it would not surprise me if you shuffled your entire sideboard in because you're bringing in so many cards. And like, if you did it that way, then actually piling shuffle isn't like that much nonsense. Make sure you don't mess it up. But I'm shocked looking at Theo's sideboard, actually how prepared, which makes sense. Thinking about it a little bit further, how much control shows up at these NRG championships. If you're going to choose to play something like Blue Red Phoenix, you kind of need to over prepare. And I'm looking at the sideboard, I would say he did. He has, just so a wide variety of things against both Supreme Verdict and removal spells and Rest in Pieces and just a ton of it. Honestly, I'm just more surprised there's not more in the main deck. If you're going to put all this stuff in your deck, why not start it all? I don't know, maybe just trying to keep the integrity of the deck, but I do think Theo is very well prepared for this matchup. We
didn't really talk about the Pioneer metagame at all since Drake and I's rounds of the pod play consisted of Modern only. But this morning, I assume they did. But yeah, in the Pioneer metagame, out of the 16 players, there were 6 blue-white control decks in Pioneer. So Theo, like you're saying, well suited for this, did a good job anticipating what his opponents were going to be bringing, as you can see there.
Yeah, only one Lotus Field. Loves to see that. That matchup's pretty bad. Amalia is probably actually pretty good. Quintorius, kind of bad. Like those kinds of things. Like not very many of the bad matchups. Control, not a great matchup, if I had to guess, but a lot of preparation in the sideboard and respect for it. And thankfully, a lot of those cards double as Rakdos midrange cards too.
Sure.
And so definitely pretty well set up. Sleight of hand, I think it's looking at Treasure Cruise and something else. Didn't get a great look. One to hand, one to bottom. And back to Weiser we go with an untapped Restless Anchorage. Adds an untapped Hallowed Fountain to the mix. That requires a shock. And maybe telegraphs a turn to play that is not Rest in Peace. Had the opportunity to play one with the shields down. Did not. Second haul for Theo. It's Omen of the Sea. Looking at two. Going to decide where those are going to go.
All right,
a lot
so
to think about.
The free window for dropping Rest in Peace is now passed. Now Daniel will actually have to respect that Theo could counter it at some point. And
yeah, it basically every point in these first few turns, Mystical Dispute is kind of the name of the game. Because if he can go like Rest in Peace, oh, you have Negate or whatever, Mystical Dispute that.
Yeah.
Like it's just the trump card.
Right.
We'll see exactly. I think he's decided to split. One top, one bottom, Deserted Beach, no play, and step. We're going to go ahead and free the Fae. And thinking on that one, it's going to resolve. And notably, lists types, instant, sorcery, fairy, cannot grab the Fable, does grab the spell. Pierce, thinking about it a little bit more. Almost selected the spell Pierce, but a pretty bad one to have face up. Chooses to grab it anyway.
And are we? No, okay. I thought maybe we didn't have red mana, but we were just getting those halls out there while they came in and played tap. There is a Steam Fence or a Sulfur Calls for the. Okay. One of those blue-red lands.
The one that goes on, the best one to have, actually. Yeah. Sequence is great here. It comes in untapped. No pain, no gain. Here's a Ledger Shredder. You know there's a Spell Pierce in hand. So does Daniel. So not really going to want to cast anything after that. And I can't imagine Theo will either. And he does not. So back to Daniel we go. Notably, Rest in Peace wouldn't even matter that much against Theo's hand right now. So Daniel not probably upset to not have one, as we are just going to play Blue Pathway Pass, negate to pick up for Theo, a big one.
All right. I believe there's a Young Pyromancer in hand too, but now that the Shredder's out there, I doubt we're going to commit a second 2-drop throw to the board as opposed to just growing the first one. I mean, maybe there's a spell.
Maybe Picklock Prankster or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sure. That one that hardly even
not a real, a real commitment of any kind. Yeah. It sucks right now. Something we saw Theo do a lot in game one is use cantrips to trigger the Ledger Shredder. But once this Ledger Shredder gets answered, you actually want those cantrips for your Young Pyromancer. So it is kind of awkward what you want to hold your cantrips for, especially given that you have so many spells. You have your land drop accounted for already. Like, what are you cantripping for? And so I really like the decision to just go to combat, attack for one, not really commit any cantrips.
All right. So it's going to be shock and then pass, presumably. If the first cantrip wasn't played already, I doubt we're playing one now. But it could be. Yeah,
like the question is Prankster. Like, are you playing the Prankster?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, we are. So, yeah. A little bit. Turn up the heat a little bit. Really start to chip on that life. You need to start to go down.
The second copy of a 1/3. That's really getting it done. And this Spell Pierce is going to turn on the Ledger Shredder, but leave Theo, well, not tapped out, but certainly tapped down heavily during Daniel's next turn.
Well, he just drew a Mystical Dispute off of that Connive. And like I said, I think that's going to be one of the big ones here because Daniel Weiser ran that into the Spell Pierce. Theo happy to cash out the Spell Pierce, being like, oh, look, it's face up. This is as good as it gets. And Daniel presumably doing this to try to resolve something mana intensive on his following turn. If it is blue, then that Mystical Dispute that Theo just picked up is going to tag it.
Yeah, that would work. Rest in Peace can get through, but
Wandering Emperor could get through.
Oh, that
worked. Oh no, and Mystical Dispute's going to catch that. That worked as well as possible for Theo, and back to Theo's turn we go. Oh, such a brutal sequence for Daniel Weiser. Like I said, these Mystical Disputes are so brutal through the first few turns. Interested. Right. He's going to commit Young Pyromancer and try to turn up the heat.
Okay, and then oh wow, this is just really working out well. No Rest in Peace to stop this Treasure Cruise, and even if there was, the rest of the board would still be flowing pretty well for Theo here. Now looking for a token for his Young Pyromancer.
He's a Connive trigger as well. We're going to go ahead and resolve that while we have the time. Yeah, get rid of a land. Ton of lands in hand. Don't need more of those. And everything's coming up Theo right now. Daniel Weiser suddenly on the back foot needs to find a Supreme Verdict, but if he does, maybe it's in pretty good shape. Can't be countered. And these are a lot of the pretty good threats. I mean, we're looking at 3 total threats now. So Supreme Verdict definitely matters if Daniel does have one. So here comes an attack for 3.
He's going to need it. I mean, he almost needs it now because with those 2 Hall of the Storm Giants, if Theo's allowed to make another land drop and then Daniel sweeps him up, it might be, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's going to be close to lethal at that point. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, if he has to cantrip for it, then, yeah, he's facing down the gun of the Hall of the Storm Giants, and that's pretty rough. And with Theo discarding lands, you can't even really hope for him to, like, miss a land or whatever and not have it. It's Dream Trawler.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Okay, so we're going to... Daniel picking it up like DM the other dispute. He does not. Consider's going to go looking for it, though. It's going to make a Young Pyromancer token, and we're going to graveyard the opt and draw Consider number 2. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and cast that one as well. That'll trigger both things. Connive's going to happen first. And Negate hits the bin. Yeah, Negate, not really what the game about with Dream Trawler on this stack. Consider. Mystical Dispute no longer good. Looking to just set up next turn. Oh, I bet it's the dispute. That look.
Oh,
it is the dispute. Theo shook his head. It was the dispute off the second one. Draws. Dream Trawler is in. So this is a card that was a little speculative for Mystical Dispute in particular. Daniel drew it out with the Teferi. Is it going to be able to be good enough? Facing down quite a bit of power at this point.
Oh, it's going to have to be quite strong here, isn't it? Okay, so...
Oh, yeah. Well, there's not a lot of removal, if I had to guess, in Theo's deck left. Maybe you have 1 or 2 lightning axes if that's a thing that you keep around. A Crackling Drake, though, can trade with it very easily. That one's going to happen.
And there's a Petty Theft in hand, or Brazen Barber Petty Theft in hand. I mean, just forcing the Dream Trawler to tap down is pretty strong.
Yeah, the question is, do you want to wait? I think you're going to wait until Daniel's turn in order to get the Crackling Drake through.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think you do it now, but it is something that's going to be an option. Do you do it now or do you wait till the end of the turn? Because I feel like you might wait. If you do it now, I mean, are you expecting Daniel to attack here? I'm not.
It's not clear. I would give him the option to, but even then, I'm not sure. I don't know. If he attacks, is that bad? I mean, Crackling Drake's so big that there has to be a rule spell involved anyway. If he has another copy of Negate, which he does, yeah, then I think you want to wait. You might even want to wait till your own turn and just keep your Crackling Drake alive. Because, I mean, it's just, we're doing the count right now. I mean, we've already treasure cruised. I would be shocked if this thing didn't have a double-digit power. We did bring in some other weirdo stuff like Fables and stuff that doesn't actually grow it. But, I mean, it's typically Ross Merriam described the card as suspend 1, win the game. And I think that's what it's going to represent here. Here is the attack. He does choose to attack. He does draw. So that's going to get 2 more points. That's a 5/5. 5 life coming through. Theo actually chooses to block with a Picklock Prankster.
Okay.
Pad his life a little bit in case things go wrong.
So this is now worse if there's a Supreme Verdict by a lot. As Daniel does get some life. All right, well, the block, I don't imagine there's going to be any interaction here.
Yeah, I'm curious why we stopped. Oh, we can grow it with Omen of the Sea. So he's thinking maybe about cantripping before damage to grow the Dream Trawler and get life above a certain threshold. It looks like that's exactly what we're going to do. So Omen of the Sea deployed here after blocks before damage. That's going to look at 2 cards. And if we're looking for specifically Supreme Verdict, which might be what Daniel has decided he needs, then the extra point of life is something that does matter. Both cards to bottom, card coming off Omen of the Sea. That grows it to 6 power now for this Dream Trawler.
Okay, well, if Daniel returns to 20 and is relying on something like Wandering Emperor to save himself, he appears to be pretty dead. So it's going to have to be Verdict. Is there other options? Let's find out. There's a land.
We have a creature land that can block, right? We have a Restless Anchorage. It's a 2/2 bird.
Okay, that's true.
Blocks the Crackling Drake.
That's as long as you can stop the Crackling Drake. The rest of this stuff isn't, any realistic amount of damage.
Yeah, I mean, certainly not from 20. Yeah. So we might be looking to throw a land away.
Maybe Daniel can even survive. How much damage is there not counting the Drake? There's 7.
7? Ugh. A lot, but not 20. I mean, 20 is a lot. Racing Dream Trawler, tough to do.
Yeah. And there's also potential of Shark Typhoon, I guess, blocking the Crackling Drake.
Sure. I mean, I think you'd want to wait until you can make it a 4/4. A 3/3 versus 4/4 actually a big deal versus Crackling Drake. And here comes another Crackling Drake. You can't really counter that one with anything but Mystical Dispute because you got quite a bit to activate this Restless Anchorage. So that one's going to work. And a card coming. I mean, at this point, Theo not even considering really Supreme Verdict anymore, I think. Although he does have a pile of cards to work with if it does happen. Able to just attack with everything. And the works here for Theo in hand. Probably not any removal spells. Brazen Borrower can't pick up the Restless Anchorage. So Daniel looking good to get another turn. Again, we don't really have a power toughness on these Crackling Drakes, but you know, if it's close and on the edge, he can like cantrip with like opt and stuff to grow it up. I have to imagine it's close. I don't really see a world where this Crackling Drake's just allowed to get through.
Yeah, and one cantrip also is going to kind of turn on the Ledger Shredder as well, so potentially could grow twice.
And then the Ledger Shredder grows if you discard another.
That's yeah.
We can get +3, +4 maybe, and I think that's part of what Daniel's thinking about here is what are the odds of that versus, you know, maybe I can just try to tank it. I would be shocked if that were the case. Theo keeps moving the Consider to the front of the hand alongside the Brazen Borrower. Daniel does choose to fire up the Restless Anchorage.
Okay, well, that is going to give him a turn as...
Oh, how about Block Young Pyromancer? You in? There it is. Block the Young Pyromancer. All right. Okay. Do we have a Get Lost or something? Here's a Consider. That's going to trigger the Ledger Shredder and the Young Pyromancer. So yeah, here's just more garbage. Card coming. It's Arclight Phoenix. Have to be happy to discard that one. And then we get to resolve Consider. And choose to keep the card. Has to be pretty good. It's Udawara.
Oh, that's this. Well,
is this enough?
It's 6. It would have to be 14. That's a lot.
Doesn't seem that hard. Yeah, we're doing a count real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 right there. And then over there, what are we doing? We're just rearranging the graveyard.
Okay, it's not enough.
I guess it's not enough.
Daniel Weiser living on the edge here.
Blocking the Young Pyromancer. Sure. To 3. We were 3 short.
Okay.
I think we could have made this happen. Between Opt and the works and discarding a spell instead of a Phoenix, I feel like we could have made this happen. Theo likes his spot enough to not really go for it. And there is the Hollowed Moonlight.
We are digging for Supreme Verdict like nobody's business.
I need Supreme Verdict, pretty please. If we can also Omen on upkeep if we're that desperate, but I don't think we're quite there yet. Card number 1 drawn. That's Dream Trawler's a 4/5 with lifelink. Going to attack basically no matter what Daniel's plan is, I imagine, because Verdict or nothing. And I think Theo recognizing that says, all right, we're just going to Brazen Borrow Dream Trawler now. I'll try to stymie some of this. And that's going to eat a Dovin's Veto. Okay.
That should not go to... Yeah, okay. That goes to the graveyard.
5 mana left over for Daniel.
This looks so rough. This looks like... I mean, I think it seems... I mean, Theo probably realized this too. That Daniel is drawing to Supreme Verdict here. And that's probably all there is.
Yeah, I mean, that's why he's willing to tap out of the gate, right? It's like, all that matters is Supreme Verdict. I can't counter that anyway. Let's just try to stop this Dream Trawler from attacking. Is not able to do that. So it is going to attack, maybe considering a block.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I mean, Daniel getting 5 life here is virtually irrelevant. If the Drake trades with the... Okay, if this trades, and then Daniel has a spot removal spell for Crackling Drake...
I think that's what we're thinking about now.
He would be going to 1, but Ledger Shredder can probably grow next turn. And there's also Hall of Storm Giants. This just seems... Oh, boy. All right. Cycle
the farmland. We might be drawing to that now.
Yeah.
It's just like, can we find a spot removal for the other Drake and live? Because now we get an extra point.
But the Storm Giants is too much. He can't. I don't think Drake. I don't think
we're at 9. Maybe it's just Verdict. Yeah, I don't know. He needs help.
He's got the land. He's got there's a Verdict. Okay.
Oh my gosh, that triggers Ledger Shredder.
All right.
And a card coming for Theo. So he has Hall. And he has a bird.
So
I think you're not supposed to attack with Hall. I think he needs to go digging for the other birds next turn because I just can't get.
I mean, I don't think you can. Can you spend your entire turn to not kill your opponent from this point? I don't know that you can.
I agree with that assessment.
So
and I think the discard right now is considering that exact thing.
Yeah, Daniel Weiser, if you're watching this back in replay tomorrow or a month from now, and you were sandbagging that verdict the whole time, congratulations to you, because that was
he's so
worrisome.
relaxed. Everything's on the line. We're just sitting here, just like absolutely losing our minds. He's like, yeah, whatever. Supreme verdict. Yeah, get your stuff. Your turn. What is that, Hall? Didn't care. Didn't ask. Over to Theo we go. Spirebluff Canal, not a helpful draw. Chooses to start on Young Pyromancer, of all things. Makes a lot of sense if our plan is to try to find some birds. If we fail, maybe we still have a board that's worth dealing with, and we still have our halls. So I don't hate this, but we need help. And Stormcarved Coast not going to help at all, as once again. We
need help, really, from Theo's seat? I don't know that we need that much help.
Well, Treasure Cruise is a lot of help.
Yeah, it is. That's true. And if Daniel's plan next turn was to buy Yorion and play it, that is,
I mean, not that
probably enough to get him another turn.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what Daniel's entire game plan has been, is get me another turn until I guess I find my second Dream Trawler, because that's the card, or Field of Ruins or what have you. There's a lot of draws here. And another Treasure Cruise picked up for Theo. That's got to be a good one. Some great draws here. Can deploy the Stormcarved Coast. Are we interested? Fable, another cruise. It's going to be another cruise. Negate still up for Theo. 6 cards coming to start. I mean, this is like what crazy stuff we saw with like the One Ring and stuff. I mentioned cutting a few of the Delve spells. Theo getting very rewarded for keeping a lot of them in. No rest.
Sure is. I mean, he had a game to play with here, having won the first one, but this one's looking 2 more arc lights.
Can you get him in the yard? If you can get him in the yard, it's a W. I don't think we can, but we can get our first one back and attack for 3.
And boy, Theo is very well set up for a follow-up next turn.
Yeah, you can either do 2 birds to kill. We have Hall the Storm Giants to kill. A lot of different ways we can kill. And I'm surprised we didn't move to discards there. We drew 6 cards. All right, whatever. Sick.
Okay, Daniel. Surveying the board.
All right.
Trying to figure out, okay, what do we have here? We've got, if we have Supreme Verdict number 2, Howled Moonlight number 2, then we only have to deal with Hall the Storm Giants.
Yeah, now we're talking about multiple cards, right? Like Field of Ruin plus Verdict plus.
We're talking about multiple cards no matter what. There's no one card that's going to fix this.
True. Yeah.
So we're talking about multiple cards in any scenario here for Daniel Weiser.
Right. Oh, such a tough spot. And I mean, Weiser, he had the verdict for a long time previously. Castle Vantress is very explicitly not a Field of Ruin, and it's gonna be Yorion that flickers both. Even if we find a March, I don't think that's good enough.
All right, so we can.
All right, second
what
one.
Can we beat from Daniel's seat here?
Well,
okay, we know.
An F6 through combat.
Yeah. Okay.
If he doesn't animate Hall or something,
maybe he'll deck himself.
Theo's checking right now.
Yeah.
I don't think he's decking himself.
No, I don't
very far from that. It does come up sometimes, but it's not going to come up here.
All right. So if
make another 1/1.
If Theo has nothing, and Hall Storm Giant attacks, Yorion chump blocks, it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Daniel can't even beat that.
Yeah, he can't even beat non-activate Hall. It just needs to be a straight F6 through combat. I mean, even like a March can exile the bird. You get a block. It's going to be another bird. And then we have another bird. Whatever. We're actually just bouncing this. Yeah. Theo has all the things. Turns out when you cast multiple Treasure Cruises, you have all the things. And Theo, convincing 2-0 victory over Daniel Weiser, someone that coming in on the play has won this matchup in high-stakes situations before. In the interview, told us this is the matchup he wanted to play. And 2-0.
Yeah, Theo. And it looked good doing it. It looked like in command. Knew how he wanted the games to play out, and dispatches Daniel Weiser. And Daniel Weiser will now fail to make Sunday. He's failed to make stage 3, and Theo Jung advances. We'll find out in a moment whether we're going to get any of the other match being played. There are only 2 matches this round, or maybe we'll have an interview with Theo or some other player. But in the meantime, that's a tough beat for Daniel Weiser. Nothing appeared to exactly go against him, aside from maybe did not draw a rest in peace, and that's obviously a significant part of your plan. Also, maybe you're hoping your opponent weakens their deck to be able to handle rest in peace better. It did not appear that Theo necessarily did that either.
No, yeah, I mean, multiple treasure cruise resolved in that final sequence, and those are cards that I mentioned. I traditionally trimmed on, and I would expect Theo to have maybe trimmed on, but I mean, honestly, you can cast them 8 mana, whatever. We were there, so
yeah, that's true.
They're not that bad, even under a rest in peace. In this matchup, you're going to get to 8 mana, and like I said, Theo's deck I think was a lot more prepared than the average Phoenix deck, and I don't even think the average Phoenix deck is that far behind to begin with, as long as there's no farewells. And constantly, that's what we're talking about. Graveyard presence matters. If at any point there's a farewell in that deck, and you get to annihilate that graveyard, annihilate those Phoenixes, and get everything in the process, the game looks very different. But that just never came up. Supreme Verdict looks way worse for that exact reason. Able to rebuild right away, and with all the cards Theo had access to, I mean, I'm not that surprised. That I was shocked at how much stuff there was, but it makes a lot of sense and a great call from Theo, and punches his ticket to day 2 for it.
Yeah, no, it was, and I mean, Daniel drew. I mean, we saw Halloween Light come up a little late, but there was no point where it would have been a blowout anyway. We saw the Dream Trawler show up. It, traded in combat. That was, I mean, it did some work.
Better than I expected. I expected it to be a Mystical Dispute Rod, and instead it did actually stick in play and get to go to work. So I was a little surprised at that aspect. It did look very good. Daniel Weiser's an expert, in his deck, even though that performance, maybe wouldn't speak to it.
Also part of Magic. Even matchups, if you're prepared, if you're solid, even if it's favorable, which I don't know that we're going to say it definitively is, but even if it is, you're still losing a decent amount of time. And it's not like he's playing against a weak opponent here. He's playing against Theo Jung, who's right here in the booth ready to talk to us. Congratulations.
All right. Hey, how are you doing?
We're doing good. How are you doing is what the viewers want to know.
It's been an exhausting day, but I'm glad I could close that one.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Yeah. It is taxing. You were one of the 4 people that had to play all day long, but your reward for that is you get to get up and play tomorrow morning too.
Yeah, it feels great.
Good.
Yeah, mostly excited.
Talk to me a little bit. Yeah, I believe you. We won't keep you too long. I know you're exhausted, and I'm sure everybody involved in NRG is exhausted. Some awesome Magic we've seen today. Going into this tournament, you chose Phoenix as your Pioneer deck, one of a couple players to do so, and traditionally, I would say it's gone back and forth with how the blue-white control matchup is. When you're going to veto matchups against Daniel Weiser, someone that just won the RC, beating Phoenix in the finals, talk to me about choosing to play Pioneer or by virtue of vetoing the other formats and your approach to that.
So I think the matchup's actually somewhat close from both sides, especially post-board. You get a lot of tools to combat it. Also, the other option was playing against the Teferi deck and a counterspell deck on the draw with Rhinos, so that didn't really seem great. And Daniel vetoed standard, so yeah.
Okay. Going into the weekend, which format were you thinking, this is my strength and which is my weakness compared to the rest of the field?
Yeah, I definitely say I put more work into standard than any other format, mostly because there was more to figure out, more room to explore. I ended up on a build of Esper that I imagine more like most people didn't. That was a lot more aggressive and lean, and I feel really great about that deck. I feel okay about the other decks, but yeah.
Okay. Well, one more double elimination batch tomorrow morning, and then top 4 beckons, and in that place, no hiding. You got to play all 3 formats. So exciting stuff. I mean, that's
a good thing. I get to play standard.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you finally get to beat people up in the format you prepared the most.
I mean, several people we talked to said they practice a lot of standard. I think probably because at least in the Midwest, or maybe in the whole world, like standard has not been a premium format recently, and now it's kind of sort of becoming one. This being the first weekend of the new qualifying season, and it's the format, and also obviously it coming into play here, and you all having to prepare for it. Did it feel like? Were you happy having 3 formats, or would you prefer 2?
I think I'm overall happy that it was 3 formats because I'm someone who plays a lot and plays a lot of different formats. Whereas a lot of the competitors, some of them tend to specialize towards certain formats and not others. So, yeah, I think it was a plus for me.
Okay.
Well, your day 2 performance certainly speaks to that. Congratulations once again.
All right,
and like I said, we don't want to keep you too long. Good luck tomorrow, and incredible performance today.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. All right, that was Theo Jung, day 2 competitor. All right. We have the backup match. The other match is in game 2. We're going to go live. So let's go ahead and move over there.
Last match playing Magic in the entire room.
Yeah,
my understanding is correct.
No, it is. You are right. So let's go to the table. Let's not miss any more than we don't have to. Matthew Weiss, Kyle Gonzalez. We're playing standard this time. We are in game 2, it looks like, with Kyle up a game and also the only one with a board presence right now.
And a good one at that. It looks like a Glissa Sunslayer. I mean, that's a card that is a good one to have turned sideways. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it generally is. And the life totals, I wonder if we just haven't got things updated yet, because it'd be unusual for the life totals to be this high at this point in the game. So production, maybe you can either update that or let us know if this actually is correct.
It would be wild if it was correct, as Shieldred is going to muddy up the life totals as it is known to do.
All right, there we go.
Doesn't actually block Glissa Sunslayer.
No, nothing blocks
Nothing
Glissa
does.
Sunslayer.
I don't even know what I'm talking. Nothing except other Glissas or whatever blocks it.
All right, and it's not even going to be around to do that.
Anyway, yeah, here come feed counts. This is a tough spot for Matthew Weiss. Just continually damage coming down to 11. And there's the positive heroes to keep the Glissa Sunslayer alive if we choose to, adding Rona to the mix. Maybe not necessarily the most relevant card at this exact moment, as this Glissa has been going to town.
Oh boy, Glissa is such a beating. I mean, this is that the soldier token?
Yeah, it's Virtue.
The Virtue, the white
Loyalty,
Virtue, yeah.
Ardenvale Fealty, I believe the spell version of that. I have to imagine we're doing that just to get a blocker in play.
I think we're doing both.
We're actually going to play both. Yeah. Part 1, part 2. Now, if we have a removal spell for this token, I believe one of Glissa's modes is destroying enchantment. So if we can get Glissa through, it'll be brutal. As Takanuma going to get cycled. Didn't get a look at what was picked up. Had a little bit of a lag there for me as we go back to Kyle Gonzalez. Again, if he can just get this thing through. I think he just flashed a removal spell of some kind. That's gonna be a beating. No, I think he's just reminding what he picked up. So it's a little choppy for me here.
3 across. Get rid of the Virtue. All right.
Yeah.
You called that one. There's Rona goes to work. Oh yeah, this is Kyle is probably feeling pretty. I mean, I know right now in this seat you're stressed. You're thinking more about how do I not lose, how do I win, how do I finish this off? But things are looking great.
And Slogurk added. Yeah, I mean, Plaza up, Slogurk added, Rona running, Glissa running, Matthew Weiss down to 5. I don't even know what getting out of this looks like for Matthew Weiss. And he has 2 or 3 cards to do it. Takanuma is how it's going to start.
Okay. Not optimistic. There's a lot of cards in the graveyard.
Thinking about what to pick up. Yeah, I think we're still thinking about what to pick up here. Yeah, and it's going to be Rafine. Rafine picked up and cast. That's going to be answered by Airtar Resurrected. And we're going to hold priority on the Rona trigger and go ahead and loot with that on the stack. Graveyard.
Oh, this is deep overwhelming.
No.
First counter. I mean, this is. We're already there, right? This is.
Yeah, we graveyarded Takanuma, and now Slugurk's up a counter.
Yeah. Well,
we can look at that one.
And there's an Otawara, and there is a handshake, and Kyle Gonzalez. Is through. Matthew Weiss will be defeated here and not make stage 3, but Kyle Gonzalez moves on to join Theo Jung and the other 6 players who advanced into day 2.